Amazing. Okay, so this week it's me, Heather, of course, and this is the Back to Me podcast. And this is the one of my favorite slots for my podcast is my celebrity coach chat because I get to chat with such fabulous people. And today is Tina, I'm going to say it wrong, Collura.
You said it wonderfully.
Excellent. And from See Yourself Grow, it's super amazing productivity coach. And we're going to talk, as usual, all things wellness, right? Because wellness is more than just, I was in a podcast yesterday, it's more than just eat less and exercise more, right? There's so many aspects to wellness. I could like fill a lifetime with it. But so Tina, so what I guess let's talk about this. How did you get into coaching first? Like what drew you to it?
Wow. So, Heather, first off, I just want to say thank you for having me on the show. I'm overjoyed with gratitude for you and for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. I wouldn't be here if you guys weren't here. So
yeah, for sure. So I've been coaching for about 15 years now.
Wow.
Now, I've taken it on so many different paths, but if I want to go back to my original thirst and desire for helping others achieve goals, it was back in 2008, and it was when I first became a people leader in my corporate role, and I realized like how much I loved helping people, see something more in them than they would see in themselves, right? So
Wow.
identifying their strengths and their areas of opportunity and developing the plan and then seeing it all come to fruition, it was just so gratifying.
Right.
And then I went to this it was a 3-day seminar, and I got on stage and I spoke to 3,000 people in the room, and the energy from the stage was just, oh my God,
Some people
so,
would have
so
rather
amazing.
dropped dead.
I know. And you know what? It was just the energy in the room, like I said, was just invigorating. And so it was at that seminar that the person I was with, he's like, why don't you start a coaching business? And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, you love coaching, you love motivating people. Why not? So that's how it started.
That's so amazing. And what got you to get up on stage? Did you just somebody said you want to try it, or was it part of the curriculum, or
It was part of the curriculum, and I got chosen to be the spokesperson for our group to share, our thoughts and what we were implementing. And oh my goodness. And the organizer of the event, he put his hands on my shoulder as I was there, and he's like, take it in. He's like, take it all in.
right?
Yeah.
That's
And
so
yeah.
good. And it's so
So
funny. I like because you just reminded me the first time I ever stepped, I'm going to say stage in quotation marks because it wasn't really a stage and it was only 3 people, but it was a really huge step for me.
mhm.
And it was actually teaching my very first ever yoga class.
Nice.
And I got pushed up onto that stage. It was like my yoga teacher said, "You're you're a teacher, teach." And I didn't believe her. I said, "No, I'm not. I'm an accountant." She said, "Teach, teach." And I trusted her and did it. And I mean, probably on a smaller scale than 3,000 people, 3 people, but oh my gosh, it's true.
Yeah.
Like you feel that energy and people just are experiencing and living whatever you're saying. And like it was so good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say, like, in any type of motivational talk that I'm giving, if one person can walk away feeling inspired or motivated, or if they want to make even a small change in their life, I'll know that I did
Right.
something good for someone else today,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's rewarding in itself.
And do you speak so what is your, because you've got productivity coach, but on your name thing, what's that called? A little bar at the bottom. So do you speak about productivity, or do you just like to speak motivation topics?
So when I first started out, I fell in love with The Secret and the law of attraction and vision boards and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah.
I got certified with the Quantum Success Coaching Academy. And the corporation that I was working at, after I got certified, they asked if I would run employee sessions. And so I said, absolutely. So I started talking to the employees about the power of positive thinking, the power of goal setting, and the power of future visioning, and how it all ties in to getting stuff done.
Right.
Right. So I talk a lot about that. And I've taken that on multiple journeys. So I took it into a 12-week course that I was doing here in the school boards. Then I took it to kids. I'm like, if I could teach this
Wow.
to adults, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, why not take it to
And
the
it's probably
elementary
easier
schools?
for the kids to like, because they haven't got all the filters on yet. They
Right,
don't have they
exactly.
don't have a lot of yeah buts yet.
Yes, yes,
Right.
exactly. So when I was asked by a principal if I would do, and it was Health and Wellness Week, and
Yeah.
what, yeah, the principal's like, "Would you come and speak to the kids?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So I'm a yes person, Heather. So if you ask me, I'll say yes, absolutely, yes. Can you do this? Yes. Can you do that? I'm like, I will figure it out.
That is
So yeah,
hilarious.
and you know what? As I got older, I started doing a lot of talks on capitalizing on the time that we've been given,
Yeah.
right? My
Yeah.
tagline is I will help you get out of your own way and into results in less than 90 days.
Well,
Why?
right.
Because I've done it for myself, and now I'm doing it for others, right? Whether it's personal development or professional development, I really think that, once you work through the limiting beliefs or work through, the the cobwebs that we're creating in our own mind,
The
and we start getting
confusion.
clear on things,
Yes. Yeah.
that's when the magic happens.
And sometimes, like, I do find if someone can just have someone help them sort out the whirlwind of, because we have so much information. It's almost like, and people who don't live in Toronto probably won't get this, the Pickle Barrel. The
Mm.
menu at the Pickle Barrel,
Mm-hmm.
it's this restaurant. It's like a novel. And I find it on some levels quite stressful because there's so much on there.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to decide? So
Yes.
sometimes with life, it's, we have the tyranny of choice.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things we could do. We're paralyzed because we
Yes.
don't know which way to go.
Yeah.
So having someone kind of outside to ask the powerful questions to help you figure out not only what you want, but maybe what you need
Mm-hmm.
and what would help you and what would make you happier and what would unstick you, as you say, get
Mm-hmm.
yourself out of your own way. And I've seen lots of get unstuck programs lately. So I think it's the theme of the decade is get
Mm-hmm.
unstuck.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it's true. Once they can see a path, then it's easy, then it becomes easier. And I find they all impact each other. So, I mean, you talked about life, you talked about business, but if you can tweak one thing, it's going to flow through all the rest of the things in life, right? We don't live each of the pieces of our life in isolation.
Absolutely. And I do this process. It's basically called the focus wheel. And so I always ask my clients on a personal level, any tools that I've used on a personal level, I've kind of transitioned them into business.
Right.
So you identify what are the four quadrants of business or life, and start rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. And prior to the pandemic, I was doing this on a quarterly basis.
Right.
But once the pandemic hit, Heather, I felt like I had to do it on a monthly basis just to check myself, right?
Well, and it
Um,
was so easy you could slide so easily over the last 2 years.
mhm.
And so many people I've heard from have said, it always comes up.
Yeah.
I was trying to stay on top of things and it just got away from
Hmm.
me. It's
Yeah.
funny that you use four because I use six.
Yeah.
And
Well, I start with the four. So the
right,
four quadrants of life, your emotional, your mental, your physical, and your spiritual state. And
right.
then I add in another four, right,
Oh, so
areas
you got
of
eight.
life. So I
Right,
do eight. I rate myself on eight categories of life. Family, social life, my finances, my business. How am I doing? Right? On a
yeah,
scale of 1 to 10. And then what I do is I look at the areas that I scored the lowest on. right? And then I start putting 1 to 3 goals, either daily or weekly or monthly, whatever I can handle. And then from there, I start building out the plan. And I
Really
find it's a
small
lot
things, right?
easier. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot easier to focus on 1 to 3 items versus everything, right?
Yeah. You have to pare it down because it's like I've tried. I I'm guilty of trying to do absolutely everything. Just ask my husband; he'll tell you. Um,
Hmm.
and it is very true that it seems so simple. I mean, it is simple in some ways, but it's not always easy to just pare it down into just how you like. I use the six. I use physical, emotional, spiritual, um, relationship, professional, and financial. But there's lots of ways to slice it. But when I tell
Hmm.
people, it's just a way to organize your thoughts
Yeah.
and to kind of give yourself some space to think. And yeah, you take the lowest one, and you don't have to be a Hollywood epic. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be a Bo Derek 10 out of 10. You can say this is the one I'm going to work on, and just small daily actions will take you so far, right? That's
Yeah.
that's kind of the premise of the Atomic Habits book.
Yes, exactly, right? So, and you touched upon this a little bit earlier when, people tend to cripple themselves into inaction, right? By getting overwhelmed or, being uncertain on where to start. And if you think about like the moments where we're totally stressed out and we have, that foggy brain syndrome, we're not thinking straight, or we're not able to formulate a plan or just even identify, what can I do right now,
And you're not
right?
going to make
So
the best decision from that place either, right?
right, exactly. So I tell my clients, I'm like, let's put 60 seconds on the clock. I'm like, and just think about that one item, right? And then just start writing down anything that comes to mind in regards to that one project or process or item. And then I say circle one, and then just spend 10 minutes on that one thing,
Right.
right? And then that'll make them feel better, where it's like, what? Okay, it's only 10 minutes. It's only one thing, but you know what? If you keep doing this on a daily basis, you'll reach your end goal a lot
Yeah.
quicker, right?
Yeah.
And in small doses, right?
Yeah. There was I think it was called the Productivity Planner. There's so many planners now, but they used the example of there were two groups who were trying to, I think, reach the North Pole or South Pole. Someone will have to remind me. But one group was going as far as they could, and they would push themselves, and then so they were up and down with their how they were approaching. The other group said, no matter what the weather, no matter what's going on, we're going this distance every day, a manageable
Mm-hmm.
distance. And they were the ones who reached the goal first because they were
Mm,
just consistent, consistent, consistent.
that's right.
And it's true, when you're feeling overwhelmed, you can't make a decision. You're making your decision out of being overwhelmed and fear, and you're just trying to clear the deck as fast as you can. So you're gonna not make necessarily the best decision. And I'm in this group called Procrastinators Unite. And
I love it.
it's a WhatsApp group. We're trying to help each other stop procrastinating. I don't know if
Okay.
the procrastinators could actually help each other.
Well, I have 21. I do a class on 21 ways to beat your procrastination
Right?
habits. So yes, I got you.
You got to send me the link for that. Send me the link for that. But it was funny because today someone had just went on a rant and listed everything that was wrong, what was going on with them,
Hmm.
and that they were feeling completely overwhelmed. And this
Mm,
story just popped into my head. And funny, it was a podcast that I did like 2 years ago when I was doing more business podcasts and wellness
hmm.
podcasts. And it was Bird by Bird. You know that story of Bird by Bird?
Hmm.
It's such a good story. And I can't
Yeah.
remember who the author is, but it's like how, or, the how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time. So it's
Yes.
like a little bit, a little bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
And you feel better. Like if you give yourself smaller pieces, you'll feel better, right?
Yes. Yes.
And you can look backwards at some point and go, whoa, look how far I actually got. I didn't think I was doing anything. And then
Right.
where I actually am.
Yeah. And you know what? Actually, Heather, that leads me, that makes me think of something else. I actually do a vision board for my previous year. I call it my success board. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Right. Yeah. And it kind of ties into what you're saying, because it's like, look what I accomplished.
That's
Right.
so good.
And then especially when you're setting your goals for the year to come, so do a success board of the previous year, then do your vision board for the year to come. Write it down.
I am
Yes.
writing that down.
Yeah. And
pulling up my pen.
I know, and as crazy as it sounds, what I did is I went through all my social media posts, and it kind of just triggered everything that I accomplished
Sometimes you forget.
in 2021, right? And then I shared it with my team, and it inspired them to want to do the same. And then when we did our vision boards for 2022, you're like, okay, you start identifying, what are the goals, right? What are the big goals? What are your big five? And then I take it a step further from there, and I'm like, okay, what are the activities that you're going to commit to making those goals a success?
Yeah.
Right.
And making it like that one step at a time goal, right? Like,
yeah. It doesn't have to be anything big,
No.
and make it measurable, right? Maybe it's, for me, I'm looking up here because I have all my boards up here. My first one is I will sign up 5 small business, business owners for coaching. And so what are some of the things that I'm going to do? I'm going to attend more business networking events, right? Whether it's 1 to 3 a week or whatever, right? But, we all need a plan. And I tell this to my girls, dreams don't come true. I'm like, plans come true.
Right.
We like to believe. Yes. Yeah. They're 7 and 4. So I'm planting those seeds now, Heather.
They're going to be ready to rock it by the time they get to, that age where they decide a direction. And if someone had told me when I was a kid that you can change direction if you want, man, would I have been more courageous.
Yeah.
I waited till I was in my 30s to be courageous, to realize you can change your mind.
Yes, absolutely. What is it? It's a crazy number of decisions. What is it? 23,000 decisions a day. That's how many decisions we're making a day, right? So we got to just put more value in taking a chance and making those choices. And whether it's a good choice or a not so good choice, at least you're making them, right? So the more choices you make, the better you become at making them.
Right. I was actually giving a webinar last night on the those 6 zones. Like, it was just a come in and let me teach you the basics of how to kind of organize your thoughts and choose a direction to take better care of. My program is called Back to Me. My podcast is called Back to Me. Take better care of yourself. And I said, at one point, I'm like, just pick one and pick a direction, and you're not going to make a mistake because you've made a decision. And you can't, once you realize that there's something you want to change, you can't unknow that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you choose to do nothing, that is you're still making a decision, and you're deciding you want to stay in this place where you're not as happy. So make your decision valuable, like value what your decision is, and pick a direction. And if you get partway down the road and go, oh, shoot, this isn't the right road, take the exit ramp and take it on the road.
Yeah.
There's no mistakes, right? There's just lessons.
Yeah. Only learning opportunities. I've been with my corporate job 22 years.
Hello.
And in the 22 years that I've been there, I've switched jobs like 10 times. So my average is like every 2 years, I'm like, okay, time for a new obstacle, new learning opportunities, right?
That was my average in corporate too. Every 2 years, I wasn't always with the same company, but when I did, I had to switch jobs every 2 years. Otherwise, I would just get bored and lose my motivation. And then I just found stuff outside corporate way more exciting and interesting. So
hence the coaching for me. If you're truly passionate about one thing, the universe, whatever higher power you believe in, will always bring you back to that natural state. And this is something that I'm passionate about, and I love doing it. And it just doesn't, I don't even realize the time is passing, when I'm focusing on my business or my coaching or my clients. So I'm truly grateful for all that.
So you must be the queen of productivity if you can have a full-time corporate job and you're running these programs, because I know your program is 8 weeks, right?
I have an 8-week See Your Business Grow program.
Right.
And then I also do free master classes. So I usually do 2 a month. And I also run 2 networking events every month as well.
And you have 2 children.
And I have 2 children, 2, 2, 2. Oh, wow. It's the year of 2, 2022.
2022. So
Yeah.
that's a lot. Like some people would hear that and think the woman doesn't sleep.
Right? But
Yeah.
I got to tell you, Heather, I got one of those smartwatches for Christmas, and my husband, he's like, "How do you do it?" I get on average 2 to 3 hours of deep sleep a night.
Wow.
Right? I didn't know that was good,
That is good.
until he started pointing it out to me. And he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "You're my brain. I'm the type of person, when I'm out, I'm out." And I think it's just because of how full my day is, that when
Right.
I do hit that pillow, I get really good sleep.
And there's
Uh,
people who they can't turn their day off, right?
right. Yeah.
Like I have one of those smart watches, and my average, funny enough, I always think, oh, it must be the angels or the universe or something. My average deep sleep is 1 hour and 11 minutes.
Oh, I love that.
I'm like, again with the 1 hour and 11 minutes, couldn't I have a little more? But
Right.
like sleep is one of the things I talk about in my program, because I'm talking a lot about, finding balance in your life. That's why I'm like,
Mhm.
you have so much going on. You must be like the queen of organization to get to have that all in there and
Yeah.
be able to be there for all of the aspects of your life, your family, your social life, your job, your friends, the
Yeah.
whole food match.
Yeah, that's why I do a talk on capitalizing on the time we've been given, because prior to the pandemic, I was commuting 4 hours a day.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah, so dropping the kids off at 6:30 in the morning, not getting home till 7:30. So had a little breakdown, Heather, in corporate back in 2019. And I realized this is not the life I want to be living. And then I did a visualization of my perfect day, and it was working from home, spending more time with my family, breakfast, lunch, and dinner with my husband. And then the pandemic hit. I'm like, yes. Like, I'm being given the gift of time. So I really capitalized on those 4 hours. So those 2 hours in the morning where I was commuting, I was curating content, posting videos, connecting with people, just starting messaging, say, hey,
Yeah.
love to connect with you, planting those seeds. And then in the evening, I was doing training or talking to people, networking. So it's really about identifying what are the activities that are going to gratify you and give you, what you need in order to really capitalize. So
And
there's
not
a
just
lot of people out there who are spending that time watching TV or, just doing what they love. And there's not a problem with that.
right.
But I found one of my clients 37 and a half hours a week. Right?
Was it because
So
of TikTok?
what's that?
Was it because of TikTok?
It was because, yeah, she got lost. She would get lost in her social media rabbit holes.
Right?
Yeah. So I said, listen, I go, if you really want to break it down, right? Because she was going to school, she had an autistic son. She thought she couldn't do it. But it's really, valuing the time, right?
Mindfully choosing where you spend your time, right? So that's
Yeah.
not to say, like I tell people, you can go on social,
Yeah.
but set yourself a timer if you can't pull yourself out of it, right?
Yeah.
My phone actually tells me at the end of each week how much time I spent on each app.
Right.
So
Yes.
that's a good kind of wake up call. And I have been so proud the last couple of weeks, because when it gives me my report, it tells me that I spent my largest number of hours on something called Duolingo, where I'm trying to learn
Mm.
French.
Right, but you're learning,
Right.
you're stimulating your mind,
Yeah.
right?
I
So
mean,
that's not a bad thing.
it's not like I see trying going on to that app as like my break from work,
Hmm.
but I'm still doing something. And I can only do it for so long, because
Yeah.
when I start making lots of mistakes, I know my brain is fatigued. I need to go do something
Yes,
else, right?
exactly. Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but social media is designed to keep you there. They're not going to let your brain fatigue, right? They're going to keep trying to pull you back in,
Stimulating.
pull you back in,
Yes.
pull you back in.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it can be hard to break away from it, but it's not impossible.
No,
And I
absolutely.
was thinking, like, sometimes people, they say they want something, like they want a specific goal, but if they haven't, re- it's almost like they haven't committed to it on an emotional level, or they've only paid it lip service, or they just think, oh, this would kind of be a good idea.
Hmm.
And that's when I find that they don't make the right decision of where to place their time.
Hmm.
It's like you knew you wanted to be coaching. You knew you had a gift of 4 hours a day. You're like, I'm using them. And
Yes.
instead of like, oh, I can do this, but instead I'm going to catch up on my Netflix
Hmm.
watching, right?
Yeah.
So, and it is true that the pandemic is horrible and awful, and so many people were suffering, but also a huge gift to shift how we approach work, to how we approach life, to how we approach relationships,
Hmm.
um, to refocus what actually is important. Like I
Yes.
hate to think of major crises are the only things that seem to wake us up sometimes, to give us a shake of like,
Hmm.
no, seriously, you gotta pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it shook the whole world. No, seriously, you need to pay attention.
Yes.
And I hope we're learning. Like, I hope we're learning.
Yeah.
I had COVID, I did see as an opportunity, because one of my things that I do in my regular life is I'm still a massage therapist. And of course, that
Hmm.
was highly impacted.
Hmm.
So I just took that time to really work on what was important. But I think my biggest wake up call came Halloween, when I had a stroke. I'm just like,
Mm.
in the hospital going, holy moly, do you need to
Right.
pay attention?
Yeah.
You are totally right, my friend Tina. You only have so
Hmm.
much time.
Yes.
And I think that was the kindest way the universe could have kicked me and said,
Hmm.
yeah, your time is moving and you've got to pay attention. And I thought
Yeah.
I was, but I know since then, I know that I could have been doing way more than I was.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, and we all have the capability to do more, or to your point, make different choices, take a different path, right? It's all about being conscientious of who we are, or who we want to be, and just move a little bit towards conquering your fears,
right.
day to day, right? Because it's the fear that holds us back. I find the whole older we get, it's like, oh, I want to do this, but I'm so unsure of myself. And what if I fail? And what if? So I always tell my people, I'm like, act in spite of fear, right?
Why do
Just
you think
take,
we get more scared as we get older?
I think we're just more set in our ways. We're
Hmm.
more set in our ways. And, you know, um, when I think of my children, they're always failing forward, right? And they're not afraid to try new things, right? Because it is new to them.
Right.
Whereas as adults, or as we grow, we've experienced it, and we haven't dealt with the ramifications of the failing forward. So
Mhm.
not having the right tools in our toolbox to help us through all of that. And I saw something recently. I read something where they said we're only born with two fears, and that's fear of falling and fear of loud noises.
There
That's
you
it.
go. So we make all these extra
We make
ones.
everything else up, or, our environment. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy
Yeah.
because you look at how much is done out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
How many people, like, what, the biggest regret of the dying is they didn't do that thing.
Yeah.
And it was because they were afraid to.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can see, being afraid of, death. Like, no, I'm not going to go parachuting, but that goes back to the fear of falling. So that's a real one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but like, people are more afraid of your, going back to your stage experience, public speaking, that they're more like mortified. And I guess that comes from the conditioning of, if back way back, if you didn't belong to a tribe, you weren't going to survive, right? You needed
Mm-hmm.
the community support. But we
Yeah.
don't have that now. We still have that
No.
kind of feeling sometimes that we have to be accepted, or we have this kind of underlying fear, if we're not accepted, we're going to die. But guess what? You're not going to die if not everyone
No.
loves you.
Yeah. Yeah. The formative years, from 0 to 7 are just so important, to plant the right seeds, provide these kids around you with the right tools, to build their confidence.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. Yes, they are going to fail, but we need to encourage them to fail. It's okay to try, and it's okay to fall. Like, babies don't, just go from crawling to walking. No, they got to stumble, they got to
And we
fall.
don't
And
point and laugh at them.
no, exactly, right?
We
So
pick them up
it's,
and dust them off.
and keep moving.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to do with our adult friends and families as well. It's like,
Right.
encourage them to try something new, encourage them to have an end goal. Because, going through day to day is okay, but we need to strive. We need to thrive instead of just survive, right? So the
Yeah.
next time someone says, oh yeah, I'm doing fine, or yeah, things are okay, it's like, well, could they be better, right? Question. What could make your life amazing,
We
right?
should, instead of asking the how are you today, we should start asking, what could we make better today? Or
Yeah.
something like that. Because the pat answer is, how are you? Great. How are you? Great.
Great, fine.
And
Yeah,
nobody's
yeah.
actually listening to the question or the answer.
Right.
I met
Yeah.
someone on a networking meeting recently who said, now when people ask her how she is, she said, do you really want to know?
Yeah, be careful what you ask.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
How much time
Yeah.
have you got?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But it's interesting. I mean, I was thinking about, you were making a comment about supporting friends when they're trying to do something new. And one of the things that I always encourage all of my clients to do is make sure that you surround yourself with the people who are going to support you, right? Like, there's always going to be people in your life who, I can just remember when my husband decided to leave his job, his friends were like, oh my God, how exciting. You're going traveling, you're doing this. Like, they were so supportive. And when I told my friends, one of them was going to have me committed to CAMH because they thought I was crazy.
Oh
For the people
no.
not in Toronto who don't know what CAMH, that's the Mental Health Institute. And
Yes.
this person took me to lunch, and with the intention of looking me in the eye. And if they thought that I was unstable, they were taking me straight down because you're
Oh no.
leaving my job, that I'd lost my mind.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. Yeah,
So
no,
be
that's
careful
so
who you surround
unfair.
yourself with, right?
Yes.
Be careful
Yeah.
who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And
So,
yeah,
Heather,
go ahead.
I wanted to share, my 6 steps
Yeah,
to thriving instead of just surviving. And it actually touched upon, that's number 2, build a good support system around yourself,
yeah,
right? We're a product of our environment. So the 5 closest people to you, make sure they're good people. But that's number 2. Number 1 is to begin with the end in mind. So have a goal, have a vision, right? Number 3 is to set specific goals around it. Make it measurable. The whole SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely.
Yes.
Right. And then number 4, realize or recognize when you are procrastinating. Okay. So build in time for procrastination. So if you're going to work for 50 minutes, build in time to give yourself 10 minutes to reward yourself with, your distraction of choice. That's actually number 6. But number 5 is practice the 25-5 rule or the 50-10 rule. Work for 25, pause for 5. Work for 50, pause for 10.
That's like
right?
Does that come from Pomodoro?
Pomodoro. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's just really very simple things. But easily enough, they can be implemented and be consistent.
Yeah.
Right?
Consistency.
Consistency is
You'll get
key.
further being consistent in making mistakes.
Yeah.
Than being inconsistent and being perfect.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You'll get so much further.
Yeah.
If you can just I love those 6.
Yes, 6. Yep.
I love the little 6. And I think you have it on a board above your head because I saw you looking up. Hang it on your wall so you.
Yeah, it's right here always.
Right? You need those visual reminders. I have Post-it notes all along behind my computer, that say, ask, listen, help, I am enough. All of these things, all of these reminders for me so that I don't have to take up mental space remembering them all. They're just right there. I've got enough stuff to keep track of in my head.
Yes.
And just clear some room for some actual creativity.
Yeah.
Because when we can drop out of the overwhelm and the stress, you can drop into that creative zone. I was reading a book called Do Less, Be More.
Yes.
Talking about you need that break from thinking in tasks to allow your brain to make connections, to recognize things going on. I love real life.
I know, right?
I love real life. I was in a meeting recently where there was a dog barking the whole time. But it's you just give your brain some space.
Yeah.
Give your brain some space to be creative and to relax and to let the breezes blow through and to be you.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're so busy being everything except us, we forget what we are, right?
Yeah. It's so true.
Be us.
Yeah.
Which is so true. Important. And I am going to honor your time because I know you're a super busy woman, right? How do you get it all done? You keep your deadline, right?
Yes. Yeah. As much as you can, plan for the day, but plan for the unexpected as well, Heather.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was so structured, I wasn't as flexible as I should be. And oh my goodness, having kids has really taught me that I'm not fully in charge anymore of my time.
Control is always an illusion. They just help find out to you.
You know what? They help me be better planners, right? So anytime I'm, about to go into a meeting, I'm always checking on them. Do you have everything you need? Do you need anything from me? I'm good, so it's really planning ahead. That's another thing that you got to do.
Yeah.
And expect the unexpected.
I like to have a loose plan for my whole week on Sunday, knowing that it could change at the drop of a hat, right?
Yep.
At least you've got guidelines. You've got guidelines.
Yes.
So I'm going to put into all of the chats and announcements and all of the things how to find you. And is your program ongoing? Is it enroll as you wish?
Actually, it's starting May 4th. So people can go to my website, seeyourselfgrow.com, and check out the events page. And you could sign up for my free networking event. You could sign up for my free how to see your business grow masterclass, which is happening on March 29th and April the 1st. Same class, just different time slots.
Yeah.
Or you can always book a free zero pressure call with me to see if I can help you or your business grow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so good. I mean, we could talk forever, but you got stuff to do. So, my friend, thank you so much for spending time with me today. And for
Absolutely.
sure, everybody listening, please reach out to Tina because I know that she could help you and she's super awesome.
Aw, thank you, Heather.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye, everyone.